So before we begin the meditation, I just wanted to share a few words about what meditation is in the approach that I'm sharing, and to see how meditation links up also with self-inquiry, because they are very much linked. They are very much part of the same thing. For me, meditation is really, there are two parts to meditation. There are two parts to it. And the first part is just beginning to be still enough and present enough and conscious enough inside ourselves that we're able to just truly be with ourselves. We're able to be truly present with ourselves. And we're able to really allow whatever is arising inside us to really give it space to arise. And to really see if we can just be inside our own stillness without trying to control any kind of any of our environment, any of our internal workings, and just to bring this quality of stillness into ourselves, into our being. And when we become still, what will happen is, of course, the mind will come up very strongly. Maybe emotions and feelings will come up. Maybe you'll notice more your inner child. Maybe you'll notice a lot more things which ordinarily they don't appear. So the first part of meditation is just really the willingness to stop and be still, and just bring everything into the field of conscious stillness or conscious presence. And I'm very much encouraging this so that we don't begin self-inquiry before we're kind of established inside the stillness. Because if we begin self-inquiry when we're not established inside the stillness, then it can become very mental. It can become very sort of heady and very intellectual. And that is not really the essence of self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is about something much more profound than that. So bringing everything into the stillness and just really allowing yourself to be fully present with yourself. And you're not sort of imagining anything, you're not creating anything, you're not trying to get anywhere, you're not trying to become even a better meditator. You're just giving yourself the time and space and willingness to truly be with yourself, so that you're not escaping yourself. You're not trying to get somewhere other than simply being here as you are. And what you'll begin to see is that if you can just allow everything to arise without trying to control it or manipulate it, and also without identifying with it, then what you begin to see is that naturally this kind of background of stillness and silence and peace, it will begin to just reveal itself. When we're not grasping at the foreground, what is in the background will just begin to come forward, And especially the key is when we're not grasping at or identifying with the moving parts. And then we begin to see that there is a kind of stillness here that is just here by itself. And it doesn't require us to keep it. It doesn't require us to hold on to it or maintain it. It is here. It is just here. In fact, it is much more here than anything else. Everything else is coming and going, but it is just here. And so the first part of meditation is to recognize that, and to truly give yourself time and space to just rest inside stillness, inside the sense of spacious presence, and just allow yourself to just get used to that. And that's very beautiful, actually, to just have periods of the day where you're just resting inside your own stillness, free of mental ideas, free of concepts, free of any kind of spiritual identity, but just resting in your own natural state. As you become established in that, and as that becomes very clear for you, then you can begin to inquire, you can begin to look, you can begin to ask the question, who or what am I? Who or what am I? And that brings about a very profound introspection into who and what we truly are. Because who and what we truly are is not a sort of upgraded version of ourselves. It is something much more subtle than that. It is something much more stable than that. It is something much more ever-present than that. And as we begin to discover that we are the very source, even of stillness, even of presence, even of peace and silence, that there is something even here behind that, so to speak. There is something here which witnesses and knows that. And as we begin to introspect, and as we begin to look into that, we don't discover something else, but we discover that the formless self is simply here by itself. And that is not something that we have to do, not something we have to keep up. It's the recognition of that which simply is. We realize and recognize that we must be that. We cannot be other than that, because that is always here. That is always present. And that is then the shift in consciousness that we are speaking about in these meetings. These meetings are about a shift in consciousness, a shift in who and what you're taking yourself to be, a shift in the very ground of your identity, so that you begin to know yourself more in the area of the beingness or the self, rather than the personal egoic self who is trying to attain awakening, or who is trying to become more spiritual. That path is also okay, but it is not what is shared here. What is shared here is the most direct, the most immediate, looking into the very core, the very nature of ourself. So we're not kind of hanging out in the branches, but we're going to the root. We're going to the root. And if you can discover the root, then the branches are less significant. They're less important. But if you don't discover the root, the core, the source, then everything else will appear more important than what it is. And within this approach, there's a beautiful freedom. And that freedom really then allows us to be who we are on a human level. You know, going back to the golf story for a moment, I remember many years ago when I was living in Buddhist community, and we were always told, you know, you got too much attachment, Paul, too much attachment to golf, or attachment to tennis, attachment to sport. So I say, okay, I've got to really work on my attachment issues. So then I say, okay, I'm going to just sit in the Buddhist center. And it's a beautiful day outside, and all my friends are playing golf, playing tennis, you know, enjoying themselves. And I'm sitting in the Buddhist center, you know, working on my attachment issues. And it's just painful. It's just painful. So I say, just enjoy yourself. Do whatever you want to do. Do whatever you feel to do, but do it from and as the self. You know, I was sitting in the Buddhist center fully in ego, whereas I could have been on the golf course fully in the self. So it's got nothing to do with where we are. It's got nothing to do with what we're doing. And it's got everything to do with who and what we're being. That is what this whole thing is about. It's not about giving everything up. It's not about becoming a wandering sadhu. It's about realizing who you are and allowing that expression to be what it is. And that's why I like some of these old Indian sages, because they weren't too concerned about their self-image. They weren't too concerned about what others thought of them and whether they should always look spiritual all the time. They had just realized themselves, and then they just were themselves. They just were themselves. And that is a tremendous relief. It is a tremendous letting go of so much pressure, a tremendous letting go of spiritual concepts, spiritual ideas, spiritual perfection, and letting go of all of that. And discovering that there is something here which is already beyond perfect. And the discovery of that allows you to be in your imperfect humanness. And this is very, very good news. Very good news. I mean, if we had to be perfect, who amongst us could do it? Could you? I wouldn't last long, not even a day. Okay, so we'll have a meditation together now, and then we'll speak about the sharing groups after the meditation. So just becoming present in yourself. And as much as you're able to, coming away from the thinking mind and becoming present inside the body. And whatever is present for you inside the body, just allowing that to be as it is. So that you're not fighting with yourself. And even if there's restlessness there or resistance there, just allowing that to be as it is. And even if there is strong emotion there, also allowing that to be as it is. And if you're able to feel right down into the gut, into the belly, so that you're allowing consciousness or stillness to go wherever it wants inside you. So you're making yourself available for the stillness. And letting go of any pressure that you're putting on yourself. You have to achieve something or get somewhere. Letting go of all of that. And if you don't identify with any movement, but you simply allow the movements to take place, then something deeper than the movements begins to reveal itself. This natural field of silence or stillness within you. So can you rest in this background of stillness? This background of silence. And there's nothing to think about here. Nothing to understand. nothing to remember. Just a letting go of what you are not. And as you let go of what you are not, what you are reveals itself. What you are is not merely your conditioning. There is something inside you which is unconditioned. And nothing that has ever happened in your life has affected that. Nothing can ever affect that. Its nature is natural peace. And I'm inviting you to come to rest there. It is before the mind. It is able to watch the mind. But it is not watching with any interest. It is like a natural neutrality. The mind will deny it. But you must deny the mind. Deny the mind's identity. Then something much greater than the mind will reveal itself within you. And I'm just encouraging you to get used to this field of stillness, this space of neutrality, where you're fully conscious, but you are not thinking. Or if thought is there, you are not identified with thought. My own teacher, he calls this winning yourself back. Winning yourself back. Winning yourself back from mind. And again, coming to rest in being. In a couple of moments, I will bring the meditation to an end. So just resting in this felt sense of beingness for the last couple of moments of the meditation. And for those who can follow, you may begin to notice that even the sense of being, or the sense of presence, it is also known. It is also seen. If you go to the source of the being, what do you find? If you go to the source of everything that is manifest, what do you find? Even the sense of I inside you. It is also observed and known. Everything is observed and known from a centrally core position. That central core position It is formless. Yet you can confirm that you must be that. And that what you're taking yourself to be in the manifest world is an expression of that. But it is not the totality of that. The totality of that cannot be known as an object, because it is the subject. Ramana Maharshi, he said, the I removes I, yet remains I. Meaning, the true I, when we realize the true I, it takes out the false I. And in taking out the false I, the root is removed. Then you will never say, I had it and I lost it. Because you will know that you are it. You can never ever not be it. It is your very nature. But this may not make sense to you yet. But even if it doesn't make sense to you, just see if you can hear these words inside your heart. That is enough. And so just come out of the meditation whenever you feel ready. and see if the habit to pick up again the mind is just kind of observed in you. This is only about stop picking up what you're not. And what you are is just here by itself. The single witness of all.